Hello, I know that you have already seen the retelling of this anime from other bloggers, but I don't care. I'd rather retell a million jokes to you again and I'll sit happy. Okay, anime is really quite unusual. So let's start. The story of the end of the world anime begins with the fact that we are shown a collection of all existing gods. They decided to destroy humanity in short because we behave badly as if they are kind fluffy. I read the Bible in the Greek, and Scandinavian gods are also not a particularly good example to follow in short destruction. People made a unanimous decision, but suddenly she appears like the main character named Brunhilde. She is shorter than Valkyrie. These are those who accompany people to the afterlife, so she seems to be for people. Besides, the girl herself is half human, so in the hierarchy of the gods, she is equated with people. Brunhilde pathetically bursts into the meeting and says that there is a clause in the law that people can call the gods to the tournament, even if they win in a family of 13 duels. The gods will leave them alone for 1,000 years. Of course, this clause was added for fun. But the law is the law, so. The tournament begins to be honest. I thought there would be a couple of series of preparation for the tournament waiting for us. But no, we immediately rush into the tournament. From the gods, Thor is the first to enter the battlefield, and to put it mildly, he does not look like a Scandinavian god from people. The strongest Chinese warrior of the Three Kingdoms era will participate in the battle, and I had to go to Wikipedia to understand who he is in general. The similarity with a historical figure is about zero. Firstly, he clearly did not look like that. And secondly, he was a spearman and an archer, and the authors somehow forgot about the second weapon. Okay, we cut down the claims and move on to the fight. Two cool warriors first look at each other for a long time, then slowly converge and then exchange blows. It seems that they are equal to each other in strength, but knowing the features of such anime, I was ready for a million unexpected plot twists, and the first of them happened to decide he uses his super hammer Thor. In general, in my youth, this was called the cure for male impotence, but it doesn't matter. They show us a flashback where giants attack Walheim. We watch a demo video of the attack of the Titans 10-piece, and then Thor comes out and kills all 66 giants. Sounded like the name of an ice cream parlor. We also understand that they made a debt inside out of Thor, who can't feel the taste of life because he is a strong Capets. And so there hits the Chinese general with all the dope. But of course he blocks the blow and then counterattacks and injures Thor. The gods are in shock, and the people too. Then they show us a flashback of Louis Bu in short. He was born somewhere in Inner Mongolia, which in general is not so far from the place where I was born. Maybe I'm also the strongest warrior of China, but, well, it's not unlikely. Louis Bu also suffered from the fact that he could not find a worthy rival, and then there is a rather funny scene in the Legends of the Three Kingdoms era. It is said that the great General Cao Cao defeated the army of Louis Bu, took him prisoner, and then cut off his head, even though Louis Bu begged him to spare him. But in the anime, it is said that everything was wrong. Louis was just bored, and he decided to kill himself about Cao Cao, and we were like, yes, that's how it was. Then they tell us that Brunhilde asked her sisters to turn into magical tools that can kill gods cool, but probably, in general, the guys fight and Louis Bu begins to dominate. He even breaks one of Thor's gloves, which kind of helps him hold Mjolnir. You see, he is so hot that even Thor can't hold him with his bare hands. All the gods tensed up, but it turned out that these gloves did not protect Thor's hands from the hammer, but on the contrary, the hammer from Thor's hands, and then the joke begins in general. Mjolnir comes to life. Veins appear on it that begin to pulsate. The hammer turns out to be alive in this form. Thor can use all his strength. The god of lightning throws the general's hammers, but he deftly dodges, however. The young man flies back to Louis Bu again, reflects the attack, but it wasn't there. Thor catches his hammer and uses all the kinetic force from the flight to hit the general with all the dope. The dust dissipates, and the man seems to have withstood. But then his legs break, and I'm like, wow, that's what I understand. Let's have more action. It would seem that everything is over, but no. A horse jumps out on the battlefield. Louis Bu jumps on a horse on moral and strong-willed qualities, prepares for the final blow. A flashback awaits us again, where the general hones a spear strike in general. He just waved his spear for a very long time until he cut the heavens with it. Yes, very Chinese. So Louis Bu grabs the spear by the base and hits Thor with all the dope. He in turn also hits with a hammer, of course. After that, the generals were torn to shreds. But the man is not going to give up. He bites off his hand and rushes into a frontal attack. Both warriors finally felt the taste of life. And then Thor killed the general. The gods are getting high, people are grieving. The horse is crying, so stop that the horse is crying. But this is at the same time a nasty and funny moment. The whole army of any horse decides to go after the general, and Thor does not mind. He kills them and calls Lyuba his friend. By the way, the Valkyrie, who turned into the general's spear, also died. Brunhilde got a little angry and decided to pull out her trump card. The next participant from people is none other than Adam, the first of people, and yes, it was him who was seen at the preview. Zeus himself will fight against him, the king among the gods, although this is strange considering that there are all gods here at all. Well, like one is hardly weaker than Zeus. Okay, again, I digress. After a little strange, here is a dance that I hope did not become a hype in TikTok. We see how pumped up Zeus is. He is even more muscular than the Disney version, by the way. Initially, Shiva was supposed to participate in the second duo, but Zeus read Brunhilde and swapped places with him. Then we see another Valkyrie that turns into a weapon for Adam, and this is Brass Knuckles. He fights with his hands, so it seems like it's logical. So the fight begins. Zeus immediately attacks Adam. At first, the speed of his blows is 1 of a second, then 1/100 of a second, and so on. The Olympian accelerates everything, but Adam easily reflects all attacks. Then Zeus says that evading Adam never, if Adam doesn't win. He suddenly copies Zeus's attacks and throws his grandfather in the face quite well. In short, since I will give it away created in the image and likeness of God, he can copy any technique in general. Adam from his grandfather's Mudahal. Then Zeus decides to activate his second form in the sense of already the third. Well, a typical Dragon Ball. And we catch a flashback. In short, Zeus once fought with his father Kronos. And for those who suddenly did not know or forgot Kronos of this incarnation of time in ancient Greece, even though Zeus defeated one powerful blow, these caught actually this blow he decided to use on Adam. In general, grandfather stops time and uses a fist that is ahead of time. It would seem that everything is over. This blow cannot be frozen in any way. But Adam copes. He copied this technique and hit Zeus first, so that his head turned 180 degrees and grandfather himself turned off. The gods are shocked, and Brunhilde tells us the background of Adam. In general, everything is like in the Bible, but it's funnier here, the snake. Tempter is shorter than just snakes, but an anthropomorphic enemy snake, and besides, he also proves in court that he tasted the forbidden fruit, although in fact he just harassed her, but the girl refused. Then the serpent decided to frame him. In short, the gods decided to expel her from paradise at that moment. Adam came and tasted the apples of paradise and said that he was leaving with Eve, and he also killed the serpent by copying his technique. Cool. Cool, but only if you're 12 years old and you've only read the children's version of the Bible. And Zeus, meanwhile, came to himself. Loki shows us who says that now grandfather will show his final form, and indeed Zeus begins to transform like jelly, and the bust becomes a very wiry old man. The fact is that he twisted his muscles as tightly as possible to give them super mega strength. The fight continues, and in fact, nothing has changed. Took everything also, not it can hit Adam. And Adam beats his grandfather, however. Everything is not so simple, and the first of the people suddenly starts bleeding from the nose. The fact is that, copying the technique of Zeus, Adam's body is subjected to an incredible load, and then a battle for endurance begins, which of course Zeus wins. After all, grandfather is not just the king of the gods. They exchange blows with Adam, and afterward at that time, Zeus falls to his knees. The audience thinks that Adam won, but in fact the boy has been dead for several minutes. Just his will was so strong that he still fought on autopilot yet. General Adam died protecting his children, namely the whole of humanity. And it's pretty cool, but the score is nevertheless 2-0 in favor of the gods. Therefore, Brunhilde urgently needs to come up with some kind of plan, and the girl clearly does not have a plan. But suddenly some Japanese grandfather appears and says that he will be the next participant in the tournament. Well, in general, he has a good command of a sword once he could catch a jug of milk, and to be honest, there is nothing to lose. So Brunhilde agrees. Jiro's name is Kojiro Sosaki, and he is considered the strongest swordsman in Japan, although, according to legend and in the anime, he lost to another master named Miyamoto Musashi, though it was Musashi who called him the strongest swordsman, and besides bestowed the title of the first under the sun. Sounds very cool, almost like the King of the Sun, Louis XIV. Okay, enough historical background. Kojiro's opponent will be Poseidon himself. For some reason, they call him Sea Zeus here, which is a bit insulting, But the most important thing is that everyone is afraid of Poseidon, and he has a terribly bad character. To be honest, for me, it was a spoiler because I immediately realized how this fight would end, but they throw us a flashback about Poseidon in due time. They say he had another one, the brother whom our merman killed was called Adamus. Yes, as the final form of Zeus, and he was kind of jealous of his brothers who won the war against the Titans. Then this brother started showing off. In the end, looked askance at Poseidon, and he pierced the end. Let's move on to Kojiro's story. Let's move on. He was a good swordsman in short and had an excellent analytical mindset because of this. The kid preferred to give up when I realized that he could not win, but after that he scrolled through the options for the development of the fight in his head, and thereby trained his body and mind. In addition, Kojiro copied the habits of animals to become even more stronger in the end. Imitating scrolling variations of fights with all the strong swordsmen, Koja managed to defeat his teacher, and then the guy went to fight with other great masters. Simultaneously scrolling through their fights in his head and copying styles. I have already told you how it ended, so we will not stop there. He starts with himself, and the skin immediately uses a super technique called the flight of the swallow. The swordsman changes the trajectory of his ball at full speed, which comes as a surprise to Poseidon. However, the king of pisses is still strong. He brings down a squall and so on, the uncle. But it's not so easy here either. He has already created a projection of Poseidon in his head and read all his movements, thanks to which the old man turns out to repel the attacks of the king of the sea. True, it didn't last long. The waterman strikes a direct blow with a spear and wounds Kojiro, and then makes an arrogant face worthy. True, this is just the beginning. The king of the seas didn't finish it. He uses a technique called the mother, which means I don't know what it means something in. Ancient Greek probably, or in Latin. Everything sounds cool in Latin. Ask Joan Rowling. She has all the spells in Latin. In general, Poseidon begins to dominate the battle harshly. The samurai somehow built up to a new pace and decided to use the styles of other masters to somehow resist the water. By the way, I just now realized that the god of the seas has never used water in this anime. Zeus, the god of lightning, has never used lightning. What the hell is okay? As a result, Poseidon breaks the sword of Koja, and all the people catch us waiting for a little monologue of the old samurai that in a normal situation he would have given up long ago, but now we need to fight to the end. The Valkyrie, that was his sword, turns into two balls, because at the beginning of the battle, we were thrown a Chekhov gun mola on the only Valkyrie with a split personality. So the code begins to copy all the great swordsmen of Japan and imposes a struggle on the god of the seas. In turn, the god of the oceans begins a crushing frontal attack. Perhaps he would have won, but with Kojiro there was incredible support from the hall. The old Japanese master was able to activate a super technique with which he can read the movement in general. He read Poseidon's movement and cut off his hand, and then the second hand, and then completely cut him into pieces. So the first victory for people was earned by a Japanese in Japanese and Japanese in e-looks, somehow biased. But come on, according to the laws of drama, this is how it should be. The gods sat down a little on a point because of such news. Now it has become clear that people will not give up just like that, by the way. The anime is coming to an end. We are shown that Brunhilde communicates with Hermes, and maybe she has something in mind. And the next battle will take place in London of the X6th century. Jack the Ripper is involved from people, and the gods have exposed Hercules, but the battle itself will only be in the second season, and he has not fully released yet. So wait for the retelling next month. What can I say about this anime? The idea of a cool implementation is also not bad. Some moments are too predictable. For example, I knew in advance the winners of all three fights, but it's still interesting to watch because you don't know how they will present well-known characters to everyone. Besides, there is Aphrodite, whose chest is being held by some men, and I guessed from which anime this character is. Well, now I know. In general, I recommend watching at least probably already seen this anime. And this is exactly everything from you as usual, likes, subscriptions, comments from me. A new video on this, for sure, will still see you for now.